Good morning, dear students. In this video, we will find how to find error in division, how to find error in product, how to find error in division, and how to find error in the case of a measured quantity raised to some power. First, let us see error of a product. Again, we are taking here A and B are two individually measured quantity, and we are taking Z is equal to A into B. That means the product of A into B is Z. Now without error we are writing here. Now in the next step we are introducing error. So Z plus or minus delta Z is equal to A plus or minus delta A and B into B plus or minus delta B. When we simplify this one, we will get like this. So first multiply A into this quantity, A into this quantity, then delta A into this quantity and delta A into delta B this quantity. So we will get like this. Now here divide LHS left hand side with Z and divide right hand side with AB, because Z equal to A into B, right? So we are dividing LHS with Z and right hand side with AB. So the value doesn't change because Z equal to AB. So with the same quantity, LHS and RHS can be divided. But of course we are showing Z and AB different quantities, but in fact Z equal to A into B, right? So when you divide with Z like this and AB like this, the value doesn't change. So it can be done. Now when you simplify this one, so Z by Z you will get 1 and delta Z by delta Z. And AB by AB will get 1. And A into delta B by AB, AA gets cancelled, you will get delta B by B. And when you take delta AB by AB, BB gets cancelled, you get delta A by A. And delta A into delta B by AB we are writing like this. In the next step we are multiply, you can cancel one this side and one this side. And then what do we get? Delta Z by Z equal to delta A by A, delta B by B, and of course we are neglecting this quantity. Here delta A and delta B individually they are small, but then the product of these quantities will be very very small, right? So that is the reason why delta AB, delta B is very small, so it is ignored. This quantity is ignored. This quantity is very high and this quantity is very very small. When a small quantity is divided with very large quantity, what happened? The value will be very very small and it can be neglected. So this value is very very small, that's why we are neglecting this quantity, and finally we are getting this equation. And from this equation, the maximum relative error in the result, isn't it? Actually here in the product we have Z equal to A into B, right? But finally how are we getting the relation? In terms of relative error we are getting delta Z by Z. That means this is the relative error in the result. Yes, so delta Z by Z, this is the relative error in the result, and this is the relative error in the first quantity, and this is the relative error in the second quantity. So the maximum relative error in the result is equal to, what do we get, guys? So the sum of the relative error in the two quantities. This is the relative error in the first quantity and this is the relative error in the second quantity. Now here we can make a rule. When two quantities are multiplied, the relative error in the result is the sum of the relative error of the two quantities. So this rule can be made. In the similar manner, we can show when two quantities are divided, we will get the same result like this. So instead of showing the whole thing, directly I will write here. Yes, error in division. Let Z is equal to A by B, and similarly here we are showing like this, right? So in the case of product, what's happening? We are taking error like this and we are dividing like this, and finally what is the result we are getting? So this is the result we are getting, like, right? So in the similar manner in division also, similarly when Z equal to A by B, similarly delta Z by Z is equal to, we'll get delta A by A plus delta B by B. So in sum or addition, we have a rule, right? So what is that rule? The maximum possible error in the result is equal to the sum of the absolute error in the individual quantities. In the case of sum or difference. The similar manner, in the case of product or division, so when two quantities are multiplied or divided, the relative error in the result is the sum of the relative error of the two quantities. That rule can be made in the case of product or division. For sum or difference we have one rule, and for product or division we have another rule. Now that rule let us write here. Yes, this is the rule we are writing. When two quantities are multiplier are divided, the relative error in the result is the sum of the relative errors of the two quantities. So this relation holds good not only for two quantities, it can be applied for any number of quantities. Like here, let us take example. So if z is equal to a into b into c into d, now we can write delta z by z is equal to delta a by a plus delta b by b plus delta c by c plus delta d by d. This is what we can write. So this rule is applicable for any number of quantities whenever they are multiplied. Of course, we are writing for only two quantities, but the same relation holds good for any number of quantities. So z is equal to a into b into c into d. Then we write like this. Now I'll tell you another example also here. Yes, suppose I have a quantity like this. Z is equal to a into b by c into d. I have four quantities. So two quantities are multiplied and two quantities are divided like this. So here what happens is, again you can write like this. Delta z by z is equal to delta a by a plus delta b by b plus delta c by c plus delta d by d. I told you just now we have made a rule that, what is that? When two quantities are multiplied or divided, isn't it? Yes. Here the quantities are whether they are multiplied or divided. Whenever you see the final result is the sum of relative error of the individual quantities. Suppose if we have four quantities here, if they are multiplied and divided like this, so how do we write? Delta z by z equal to delta a by a plus delta b by b plus delta c by c plus delta d by d and so on. Isn't it? Not only like this. Of course, you may have a b c by d, a into b into c by divided by d. So the same relation holds good in the case of when we find the relative error in the final result. Now let us see how we find error in the case of a measured quantity raised to power. Let z is equal to a square. Suppose we have a is a measured value and we are getting z equal to a square like this. Suppose we have a square, isn't it? Yes. Now a is the length of each side. This is a and this is a. Then how do we find the area? A into a, right? A square. That means here z is, let us assume a is length of the side and z is the area. Isn't it? Yes. So whenever we measure length, we get some error, right? So whenever there is error in length, there will be error in area also. Yes or no? Now let us find the error in the area. So z is equal to, how do we write, guys? Z equal to, you can add a into a, right? When we have a square, you can add a into a. Now when two quantities are multiplied, how do you find the relative error in the final result? Relative error in the final result, delta z by z is equal to, is the sum of relative error in the individual quantities. So delta a by a, delta a by a. So is equal to, what are we getting, guys? Delta a by a. So 2 into delta a by a. So here what's happening? The relative error in a square is 2 times the error in a. Yes or no? Here relative error in a square is 2 times the error in a. Suppose if we have a cube here, z equal to a cube, what do we get, guys? A into a, we get delta a by a, delta a by a, delta a by a. So we get 3 into delta a by a. So now using this relation, now can we write a general expression? Yes. If z is equal to some a power p, b power q and c power r, and p, q, r are integers here, then what do we get, guys? Delta z by z is equal to this p into delta a by A, because here we have written what is the relative error in A square, that is 2 times, right? 2 into delta A by A. So in the similar manner, what is the relative error in A power P? That becomes P into delta A by A na, plus, and these are in product. Then what is the relative error in B power Q? That is Q into delta B by B. In a similar manner, what is the relative error in C power R? That is R into delta C by C. So this is the way, whenever a measured quantity is raised to power like this, what do we do, right? What do we do, guys? We write P into this value, P into a relative error in that quantity, and Q into relative error in B, and R into relative error in C. So this is the expression we get. And I will tell you one example. So whatever may be the powers may be positive, may be negative. Whenever we take powers here, the powers must be positive only. Here I'll tell you one example, that is, yeah, it is very very important. Z is equal to some A power 2, B power minus 3, some C power minus 5 is there. Then how do we write the error in Z, relative error in Z? Delta Z by Z is equal to, you are supposed to write 2 into delta A by A, plus, of course we may have power minus 3, but we are supposed to write plus 3 only, delta B by B, plus 5 into delta C by C, we are supposed to write, because this is equal to, you can write A power 2, B power 3, C power 5, right? Isn't it? That means we are assuming that B and C are in division. Whether they are in division or multiplication, the relation is same, na? Rule is same. We have made a rule for division and multiplication. The rule is same. The relative error in the final result is the sum of relative error in the individual quantities. And here we are seeing what's happening when a power is raised. When the power is 2, what's happening, guys? So the relative error in A square is 2 times the error in A. So if it is 3, what happens, guys? It will be 3 times. If it is 4, then the relative error will be 4 times, and so on. So that's what we are writing. So whether the powers are negative or positive, whenever you write here, they must be positive only. And one more thing, error progresses. That means error always increases, isn't it? If we have negative sign here, if we take negative value, what happens, guys? That means overall value is decreasing. But remember, whenever the quantities are, whenever we have more quantities, the error will be increased. Error will not be decreased. That is the reason why. So whether the values are negative or positive, but whenever we find the relative error, so these must be positive only. Here 3 and here plus 5, not minus 5. This is very very important point to remember, and remember this point. Significant figures. The reliable digits plus the first uncertain digit are known as significant digits or significant figures. So what are significant figures? The reliable digits plus the first uncertain digit are known as significant digits or significant figures. Yes. Significant figures. The reliable digits plus the first uncertain digit are known as significant figures or significant digits. Significant figures indicates the precision of measurement which depends on the least count of the measuring instrument. Yes. So significant figures indicates the precision of measurement which depends on the least count of the measuring device. Again, to explain this one, again I take this example. I take this pen cap. Let's say the diameter of this pen cap, the actual diameter of the pen cap is, let's say, 1.2567 centimeters. Now using the first instrument, ordinary scale, I measure. So how much do I get using ordinary scale? So I can say it is 1.3 or 1.2, whatever it is. So I should get the reading 1.2 centimeters or 1.3 centimeters. So here this is a reliable digit and this is called as uncertain digit, isn't it? So to total how many significant figures here we have? Two significant figures. This is reliable digit and this is first uncertain. Uncertain means it may be true, it may not be true. Do you understand? Yes. So 1 is okay, 1 centimeter is there, but this 3 is uncertain digit. It may be true, may not be true. Now using vernier calipers, if I measure the diameter, so what do I get? I may get 1.26 or 1.25, whatever it may be. Either I should get 1.26 or 1.25 centimeters. So here the first two, these two are reliable digits, and this is the first uncertain digit. So total how many digits are there? Two reliable digits, one uncertain digit. So total how many significant figures here we have? Yes, 3. So in the first measurement we have two significant figures. In the second measurement we have 3 significant figures. If I measure the diameter of the same cap using screw gauge, I may get reading like this. The diameter will be 1.257 or 1.256. So 1, 2, 5. These 3 are okay, correct. These 3 are reliable digits. And this is uncertain digit. So total how many digits we have? 3 reliable digits, 1 uncertain digit. So total how many? 4 significant figures. That means this quantity or this number has how many significant figures? 2. This number has how many significant figures? 3. This number has how many significant figures? 4. So all are in centimeters. So this is the way we determine significant figures or significant digits. Yes, now let us see rules to determine the number of significant figures. The first rule is all the non-zero digits are significant. All the non-zero digits are significant. This is the first rule. Example, if we take 2.308 centimeters, 12340 meters. So here non-zero digits. So 2 in this number 238. Here 1, 2, 3, 4. So all the non-zero digits are significant irrespective of their position after decimal point or before decimal point. So wherever they are, all the non-zero digits are always significant. This is the first one. And second rule is all the zeros between two non-zero digits are significant. All the zeros between two non-zero digits are significant. All the zeros between two non-zero digits are significant. Example 123006. So according to the first rule, all the non-zero digits are significant. So how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So these 4 are non-zero digits, so they are significant. And all the zeros between two non-zero digits are significant. So zeros between non-zero digits, so these are also significant. So total how many significant figures we have in this number? 1, 2, 3, 4. These are non-zero. Of course these two are zeros, but they are in between non-zero digits, so they are also significant. So total how many significant figures here we have? 6. And if we take another number 12.005. So 1, 2, 5. These are 1, 2, 5. These are non-zero digits. So according to the first rule, these 3 are significant. And according to the second rule, the non-zero digits, the zero digits, all the zeros between two non-zero digits, these are non-zero digits, right? So these two are also significant. So total how many significant figure digits we have in this number? 5. So this is the way we have to determine significant figures. So this is the rule number 2. And the third rule, if the number is less than 1, the zeros on the right of the decimal point but to the left of the first non-zero digits are not significant. It's very important rule. If the number is less than 1, the zeros on the right of decimal point but to the left of the first non-zero digit are not significant. Yes, so this is the third rule, very important rule. Now, so for this rule, if we take example 0.0010302. So here this number is less than 1 because 0 point something is there, isn't it? Yes. And if the number is less than 1, the zeros on the right of the decimal point, but to the left of the first non-zero digits are not significant. That means if we take these two zeros, they are right of the decimal point, but to the left of the first non-zero digit. That means, so here this one, these three are not significant. So how many significant figures are there? 1, 3, 2. These are non-zero digits, so they are significant. And these two zeros are also significant because these zeros in between two non-zero digits. So total how many significant figures we have here? 5. And if we take another example, so how many significant figures are there? So this number is less than 1. So the zeros on the right of the decimal point, but to the left of the first non-zero digit. That means, so before 1, these are not significant. So how many significant figures are there? 1, 2, 3. So here we have only 3 significant figures. And we have fourth rule. Yeah, this one also very important. The trailing zeros in a number without decimal point are not significant. The trailing zeros in a number without decimal point are not significant. Now let us see example for this one, fourth rule. Yes, so if we take this number, so what are these two guys? These two are trailing zeros. But do we have any decimal point? No. So these two are not significant. Only the first three digits are significant figures. So how many significant figures are there? 3. Now you may get one out. 1, 2, 3, 0, 0, 1, 2, 0, 0. And if you see here, these two trailing zeros are not significant. But what about 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2? These 5 are significant because they are non-zero digits. And these two zeros are also significant because these two zeros are in between two non-zero digits. So total how many significant figures we have? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So total how many significant figures we have? 7 significant figures in this number. Now 1, 2, 7, 0, 0, 0, 1. In this case, total how many significant figures are there? So 1, 2, 7, 1. These are significant figures, and these zeros are also significant because these zeros are in between two non-zero digits. So total how many significant figures we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 significant figures. So in this way, using fourth rule, we can determine significant figures. Now let us write the fifth rule. The trailing zeros in a number with a decimal point are significant. The trailing zeros in a number with a decimal point are significant. Yes, for this one, if we take example 0.3900. So these two zeros are trailing zeros, but they are after decimal point, right? So they are significant. So 3 and 9, these two are also already significant figures. So total how many significant figures we have? 4. 4 significant digits or 4 significant figures. Yes, in this number, how many significant figures are there? So this number is greater than 1, not less than 1. So these two zeros are also significant because these two zeros are in between two non-zero digits, and these two zeros are also significant because these two zeros are after decimal point. So total how many significant figures here we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 significant figures we have. And Yes. So in this number, so this number is less than 1. So these zeros are not significant and this zero is also not significant. These two zeros are significant because these two zeros are in between two non-zero digits, and these two zeros are also significant because these two zeros are trailing zeros and they are after decimal point. So total how many significant figures we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. 7 significant figures we have. So using our 5 rules we can determine significant figures in a given number like this. Yes, here there is an important point to remember. A choice of change of different units does not change the number of significant figures or digits. Example for this one is 123 meters. So how many significant figures are there? 1, 2, 3. 3 significant figures are there. Now I write the same value in centimeters. So 12300 centimeters. So these three are only significant, these two are not significant because these two are trailing zeros and without decimal point. So how many significant figures are there? 3. Now I write the same number in mm. 123,000 millimeter. So total how many significant figures we have? 1, 2, 3, and these three are trailing zeros, so they are not significant. That means here what's happening, guys? I am changing the units. But the number of significants are not changing. They should be same, isn't it? So even if we change the unit, the number of significant figures or digits in a number must be same. But here, in some cases, there will be ambiguity. I will tell you what is that ambiguity. Yes, suppose I have a number, example for this one, 0.320 meters. So I have a measurement, the value is 0.320 meters. Now how many significant figures are there? 1, 2, this it's a trailing zero but after decimal point, so it is also significant figures. So total how many significant figures are there? 3. Now write down this value in centimeters. 320, that is 32.0 centimeters. So 32 and after it's a trailing zero after decimal point, so it is also significant figure. So total how many are there? 3. Now let us write the same value in millimeters. So what do we get? 320 millimeters. So 3, 2, these two are significant, but say trailing zero, right? Trailing zero without a decimal point, it is not significant figure. So total how many significant figures are there? 2. So in this case, what's happening is ambiguity. So according to this rule, a change of different units does not change the number of significant figures or digits. But in this case, what's happening is when we change, yes, yeah, here comes ambiguity. I'll tell you again. The first reading which we are taking is 0.320 meters. So how many significant figures are there? 3. So these two are significant and this one also significant figure because this is it's a trailing zero but it is after decimal point. And the same quantity let us write in centimeters. So what do we get? 32.0. So these two are significant, this one also significant figure because it's a trailing zero after decimal point. So 3 number of significant figures. And the same value let us write in millimeter. 320 millimeter. In 320, 0 is a trailing zero and after it is without decimal point. So it is not significant. Only 3 and 2 are significant figure. So total how many significant figures we have? 2. So here comes ambiguity, right? Ambiguity means, so according to this rule, whenever we change the units, what happens? What should happen? The number of significant figures should be constant. But when we change the units, what's happening here? The number of significant figures are varying. So to remove such ambiguity in determining the number of significant figures, the best way is to represent every measurement in scientific notation. So here we are not giving the whole value in scientific notation. That is the reason why this ambiguity is coming. So to remove this ambiguity, what do? We give or we represent every measurement in scientific notation. Now I'll tell you what is that scientific notation. Yes, in scientific notation, every number expressed as a into 10 power b, a into 10 power b, where a is a number between 0 and 10, and b is any integer, b is any integer. Now let us write the same reading. Just now we have taken these three, right? Now let us write the three readings in scientific notation. 0.320 meters. Now let us write this value in scientific notation. So the first, what is the scientific notation? A into 10 power b. A is a number between 0 and 10, and b is any integer. Integer means it may be 0 or any positive number and any negative number without decimal number. Integer. So we write 3.20 into 10 power minus 1 meters. 10 power minus 1 meters. So total how many significant figures we have? 1, 2, 3. So total number of significant figures. Significant figures are 3. Now what is the next reading? 32.0 centimeters. Now this can be written as 3.0 into 10 power 1 centimeters. Again, how many significant figures? 3. And the third one, 320 mm. Now it can be written 3.20 into 10 power 2 millimeter. Yes, see here. So in the three cases, when we express the three values in scientific notation, what's happening is, in the three, whether it is meters or centimeters or millimeters, the number of significant figures remains same. That is the reason why. So it's better to represent any quantity in scientific notation. So in that case, what happens? Even if you change the units, the number of significant figures does not change. It remains constant. Now let us see few examples how we determine number of significant figures in a given number. Yes, example this one. So how many significant figures are there? Yeah, according to the first rule, all the non-zero digits 1, 2, 3, 1. These four are significant figures. And the zeros between two non-zero digits, so they are also significant figures. So these two zeros are also. And the trailing zeros after decimal point, they are also significant. So all are significant figures here. So total how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this number has 8 significant figures or 8 significant digits. And now in this case, so how many significant figures are there? 0 is not a significant one, and these two zeros are also not significant, because so this number is less than 1, and these two zeros are after decimal point but to the left of first non-zero digit. So these three are not significant, but 2 3s are significant, and these two zeros are also significant. Why? These two zeros are after decimal point. So total how many significant figures are there, or significant digits? 4 are there. So these are the 4. These are the 4. Now let us represent the same quantity. Let us represent this quantity in scientific notation. How do we represent in scientific notation? Yes, 2.300 into 10 power minus 3. 10 power minus 3. Yes, so we are moving decimal point from here to 1, 2, 3. We are shifting 3 places, right? So that is the reason we have to multiply with 10 power minus 3. So how many significant figures are there? So 4 significant figures. That means, so this one and this one, these two are same, but this is in general notation and this is in scientific notation. So it's better to write every measured quantity like this in scientific notation. It becomes very easy to find the number of significant figures or significant digits in the given number. Yeah, this is about significant figures or significant digits.